today people were doing Ergo Proxy, one of the best anime ever made, and what is special about this overview is that we're not gonna have Rory with us, so it's quite possibly gonna be the best overview we've done so far, and the best overview we'll ever do.
We're gonna be okay.
Probably it's gonna be the best one.
Yeah, alright? We're gonna be okay? Okay.
I can still add my comments in between, you assholes.
With me, I have Sean and Marty.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's up?
Alright, so the thing is, we've been wanting to do this overview for a long time, but a lot of constraints and everything. But we're finally gonna get through it, and hopefully it won't turn out shit. So give us the best of luck here.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
And then you're just gonna leave me with 2 hours worth of podcast to edit.
Come and save me.
I actually checked out that band. That is their best song. They're really boring outside of that song.
Sounds about right.
But I did check out Radiohead, and they're not boring.
Radiohead?
Yeah, Radiohead did the ending.
I don't care about Radiohead, but they're a fairly popular band, and that's pretty cool that they're actually doing that for the show.
They didn't do it for the show, they just gave them permission to use it. The album came out in 2000, so the song was 6 years old when the anime was made.
Yeah guys, just talk about the music now, on to the show please.
The first episode of Ergo Proxy introduces us to a dystopian setting, really similar to Huxley's Brave New World.
This place seems kind of like a paradise, but there's definitely something wrong. There's something that isn't right about this world you're being introduced to.
In it, people are not being born, rather they're being produced. Oh yeah, our baby just arrived recently, look how cute he is. People consume a lot of things and throw away lots of junk. There are posters around that tell them to waste, to throw away, not to repair, to buy more.
Ramdo feels very hollow.
One of the best things about this episode is they don't really tell you that much.
The first 4 episodes hide the opening from you. They don't want you to sense it as a mystery. They don't want you to know who is going to be the main character of the show, who's going to be important. They just want you to puzzle and piece everything together.
I really didn't know what to think of this one first jumping into it, and it actually took a little willpower on my part to actually push through the first 4 episodes because it just felt like just a mess of stuff that just made no sense. But Ergo Proxy is just really one of those animes that you just can't judge at the beginning. You have to go all the way through.
And we're introduced to Ray Mayer, a 19-year-old woman who works for the police department. Here it seems really similar to Ghost in a Shell, but I assure you it is not.
Riel Mayer is a pretty two-dimensional character, and she has a gay roaring Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist as her robot. So that's pretty freaking hilarious.
And she's extremely bored and is investigating a new case with some murders.
She's trying to look into things that she shouldn't be looking into. So the people of her city, Ramdo, are starting to think that she's going to be a real problem.
Pun not intended.
Oh, good God, the puns are back.
So pretty much it ends with Riel getting too deep into shit, and 2 gigantic Tim Burton action figures burst through her ceiling and start duking it out in her restroom. So that's pretty cool.
You just have to make those movie references, don't you?
In the second episode, the plot thickens. She realizes that she's investigating something really important to the government. Nobody wants to tell her anything. They even start tracking her through her personal android, or how they call it in here, entourage, Iggy. And she meets Vincent, a pussy protagonist. He's really scared of everything. He doesn't seem to have a strong personality of his own. He's talking about being the model citizen, spending a lot of money and being productive and not questioning anything. Basically, the idea of the perfect citizen is being as generic as possible, just living your life day to day.
AKA low chakra users.
Vincent's played by the guy that played Gara, and he just depressed all the time, and it's funny as hell.
He gets chased by a proxy. The proxy is just jumping on people and killing them. And this is one of the most amazing scenes I've ever seen. In slow motion, you are watching Vincent just running away for his life, trying to shoot the Proxy down, being terrified, people not really knowing what's going on. They're just shocked by some human-like monster jumping around and killing them. One more great thing about the presentation, we don't really see the scene as gory or as detailed. As you might expect, Raoul blames Vincent for the death of his wife and child, and they start pursuing him.
This episode is just really, really great for sort of building up Raoul as a character and giving him ammunition for like why he does the things he does.
Also introduced to Raoul's auto-rave named Pino. You are starting to realize that there's something weird going on with all the robots that hasn't been going on. It's called the Cogito virus. It gives true emotions to robots. And
as explained here, they gain a soul.
Yeah.
They kneel down and look into the heavens with their hands in a prayer position.
It's one of the best usages of like the robot sort of discovering a soul kind of character.
yeah. Well, anyway, so Pino is probably one of the best parts about this show because the show can feel bland and dark, but Pino is just, yeah, we're gonna fucking go on a fucking adventure in the middle of nowhere. You know, that's okay because I'm here wearing a cat outfit. Adorable. So,
Best boy character ever.
yeah.
It's a nice balance between the, Pinocchio who wants to become a real boy and the soulless robot that just can't quite, grasp humanity and why it's so important. She's a good balance. She's not cynical, she's not soulless, but she's also not just a robot that wants to be human. She's just curious.
In such a depressing world like this, it's so nice to have this character that is so naive. In Berserk,
It's
you have that.
balance.
Yeah, in Berserk, you have that stupid fucking fairy that talks like he's from a Looney Tunes cartoon. But
Too
in
much.
this, you have a character that makes sense. Her silliness is justified because she doesn't understand the world she lives in. She is almost like a child, but even more naive than that. One thing I do dislike about this show is their choice of guns. Vincent, he pretty much just has a handle for a gun that shits out bullets. We didn't have enough money to give you an actual gun, Vincent, so here's a handle. Go crazy.
Yeah, it's like the worst designed weapon ever.
Yeah, you don't even need sights, dude. You just run away from proxies.
Looks like you guys couldn't handle the gun design.
In episode 3, Vincent is being pursued by the government. Raoul sets him up because, well, like I've said, he blames him for the death of his loved ones. They make people believe that he killed his own autorave, a grave violation of morality and law. And at the end, he flees the dome.
He didn't leave the city, he was catapulted. He
He didn't
fled
leave.
out of
He
the
was
city.
trying to escape this from the authorities and got sucked out.
Flies out of a fucking city, so that's pretty funny.
And this is one of the most powerful scenes in anime in general, where he believes that he will never become a model citizen, and he just opens his eyes, and they're huge green eyes looking and judging at the people who chased him away, who, as he believes, are going to be his death. And here we also get to know a bit more about Rael. She becomes driven by curiosity. Looking into his eyes really changes her. She just simply craves to know more about it, as the life in the dome is really boring. And she's a clone of a Proxy who was also a lover of the original Proxy of him. So they have sort of a romantic destiny relationship between each other.
Yeah.
Oh, Vincent's a dick. Yeah, dating both sisters.
That's it for me for now. I want to leave something for Marty.
Yeah, I fucking love Pino. Oh, good
I
God.
just fucking love Pino.
Pino for the win.
Pino 2015.
Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking rant about Pino again.
Oh, fuck. I just love that character.
So much lowly fascination.
Riel is another character that I just absolutely adore. She's a really great example of a strong female character that I don't feel that we get enough of in anime. She's very much treated as an individual, and she's not defined by her sex, but rather by her upbringing, that she was a very privileged person. And it's just reflected in her character.
Holds others in contempt.
Yeah, but she does develop somewhat in the story. She does learn to
She stops being a bitch.
She stops being a bitch, or less of a bitch.
So much for letting Marty speak, Pinky.
In episode 4, Vincent and Pino are taken by a small group of inhabitants living off the dump of the dome. We start getting to know what the outside world is like. It's desolate. There aren't any living things in it outside of these people, and these people weren't born here. They were kicked out of the dome and escaped here. They are talking about praising their liberty because they indeed here no longer are being brainwashed, led into living meaningless hedonistic lives, but they still crave for those lives because life outside is extremely hard. They don't have anything better to do.
Man, I really miss the dome or something like that. And someone says, you can say that again. And then Pino says, you can say that again. And everyone starts cracking up. She's laughing and giggling, but in the end you understand that she herself doesn't even understand the joke. If I think, therefore I am. And Pino is probably the main piece of this puzzle that you're trying to discover. I mean, you have Iggy in the show that really does develop, but Pino is the one that you really get to see her develop throughout the entire show.
One of my favorite Pino moments, she was just sort of latching on to the reaction. That's what people find funny, and that's the kind of reaction that she gets out of that, and she just sort of enjoyed that and kept doing it, kept saying that.
There's only one character who is using his time meaningfully, who is the doctor and the leader of the group. He also treats Vincent because there is some kind of a disease outside, a normal disease which they don't have immunity against.
People in those domes are like hikikomoris, aren't they?
Episode 5, here Raoul is trying to capture Vincent and exact his revenge. Also, Rael goes outside to bring Vincent back. Also, a son of one of the inhabitants dies, and here I'm gonna be talking about Pino. Like we've already established, she doesn't really know anything about the world, and she was playing with that boy. In a particular moment, she just runs over and says, he won't give me back the colors I want to draw, and he won't let me. He's just lying there. She doesn't know what death is.
You could say that again.
You could say that again. You could say that again.
Yeah, just ridicule the whole thing, guys.
So episode 6.
Riel comes to the surface. Her life becomes endangered by the atmosphere. Hoodie hatches a plan to get her back and getting himself a free ride back to Rondo so that he can see it for the last time. And when he gets back, he gets iced, which is pretty much the plan. He wasn't really expecting much else. He kind of embraced his
He knew he was going to die.
Yeah, he was just glad to be there to get that far.
In the end, everyone except for Vincent and Pino is killed, and they are forced to take their giant flying sailboat elsewhere to farther lands.
And the big journey begins.
Episode 7. We'll follow Vincent and Pino burying their companions and seeing Vincent just being lonely because he doesn't see Pino as a person. He just sees her as an android program. She herself doesn't really know that much about the world. She can't really be any help to him. Rael recovers from the disease, and she wakes up and finds out the artificial wombs where people are made. Quite a shock. She finds out that the Proxy is made out of Amrita cells, which basically gives them a semi-infinite energy. They are essential to survival of humans in the world.
It defines them basically as gods.
And at the end of the episode, Rael decides to go hunt for Vincent and solve the mystery of the Proxies and, well, return Vincent back.
The artificial birthing pod system. In most modern animes these days, they throw an idea and they're like, oh, well, here's 5 minutes of that, and now we're never going to talk about it again. But even as Vincent moves on from Romdo, they want to explain more about these gigantic domes they live in. With Romdo, you're starting to wonder, how is it that they have this whole birthing system? How is it that the birthing system within such a condensed area is contained?
Everyone in Romdo is completely sterile, can't give birth, and so everything is artificially birthed.
So it just shows how controlled everything is. Then you meet up with Riel's crazy boyfriend Dalius, her doctor.
People here are bred to be something.
Okay.
Rael was bred to work as a detective, and he was basically created to be her personal doctor, to care for her. He had it in his genetics basically to be obsessed with her.
Yeah, okay.
She was his raison d'etre.
Riel and Dalius are both attacked by a bunch of dubstep assassins, and it appears Riel's dead, and you start thinking, wait, she's in the fucking title. She can't die in episode 7, that's ridiculous.
In episode 8, Vincent and Pino are caught in a battle between autoreivs and humans. Humans are endless as long as they have their own artificial wombs, and the robots are, well, I suppose being made somewhere. They just kill each other for no real reason. It's something that has been going on for some time. It's one of those conflicts where it's just forgotten why you fight. And there is another proxy that appears, and in this episode it basically gets clear that Vincent is a proxy. In episode 9, Vincent meets a long blonde-haired man. He's a proxy that has killed everyone in his own dome, and that he loved the proxy which Vincent killed. And he gets mad because Vincent didn't even remember that he killed her, because Vincent is amnesiac. The man calls him proxy of death. There is something that defines every proxy, and Vincent is a proxy that kills other proxies. His reason for being is killing others, that he's death.
Oh, this makes so much sense why no one's ever nice to me, because I always kill everyone. I don't know.
Of course you would try to bury that, try to put the memories somewhere else and try to become a different person. Only a psychopath would be interested in an identity like that. I can totally understand why Vincent would do exactly what he did. That's a terrible fate.
Viewer themselves yearns for something more, and that's not really a bad thing. That's what the show is trying to convey. It just shows how beautiful our world is and how used we come to certain things, and then when we destroy them, we don't fucking get them. So there you go, we get this shit. So domes, yeah.
When you don't honor yourself as a human being, that this is what happens to our resources, this is what happens to the world.
Episode 10, we see some political interaction between Roll and Daedalus.
I really hate the statues. I don't think they really explain enough about the statues, who they are, and I mean, I know
they
that's...
are AI who's there to help govern.
They strike me as like very prideful, very in control. The Greek statues, the symbol of perceived perfection. That's never how they actually looked. It's always how they wanted themselves to look. I felt like that symbology was appropriate for these godlike beings, or consider themselves so untouchable to humanity.
They have some really good voice actors for those AIs.
Yeah, they do.
So in this episode, you learn that Riel isn't dead. She escaped. You don't realize why. I'm sorry. You know what? These Riel jokes are just getting too real. But, dude, just help me out here, alright? We need to be real about this. Yeah, Riel, you learn that she's not dead. She got away somehow. They don't really explain why. And Ro reinstates Riel's fetishy doctor to learn about the proxies.
Am I the only one who feels like the dialogue between Daedalus and Rawl is like totally foreplay? Like, seriously?
You are. I didn't feel
You're
it that
so
way.
mean, mister.
I remember that part, and you can't see it as that, but since they are...
I mean, the show is about metaphors, so you can do whatever you want, man. So.
It's all up to interpretation, man.
I don't know. I just didn't feel it. I mean, it might have been there, but I sincerely doubt that any of the authors wanted anything yaoi in there.
I guess the voice actors just did.
Oh, there we go.
But we're getting sidetracked. Enjoy editing this out, Rory.
Assholes.
Episode
You're welcome.
11, Vincent stumbles upon a library in the middle of the fucking nowhere. And he enters in there, and the man is talking in riddles. It becomes obvious that he was also a proxy, and in a way he's defending himself from Vincent by confusing him. We just get a lot of monologue inside Vincent. He basically starts believing that he's a fake. The real him is the Ergo proxy, and that Vincent is just this fake created by erasing his memory. It becomes extremely obvious when the Proxy tells him, it is not I think therefore I am, it is I think therefore you are. That was really cool.
Also, Riel and Iggy finally make it to Vincent. For some reason, they were able to discern them throughout the wasteland.
Whoops, they overlooked something there.
Episode 12, they find another Proxy. It has an auto-rave beside him, and they tell Iggy he should stay back not to get infected by Cogito. He just quietly says, but it's too late. And I didn't notice it the first time. And Rael decides to travel with Vincent to uncover the things she wants to know, and she tells Iggy to go back.
Riel learns that she doesn't need a gay best friend anymore, so she shoos Iggy away.
Friend-zoned.
He isn't even looking for it, man. Alright.
This is where the episode ends. It continues in episode 13. He was just recently infected by the Cogito virus, and as Iggy's traveling back, he decides his reason for being is Rael. He doesn't know what he'd do without her. His whole reason for being is telling him that he's a worthless machine and that she doesn't need him. And he gets really angry, and he's talking about how Rael is a bitch and how she needs to die. After imprisoning her, and not as much as insulting as telling her the truth, being a bitch about her not being able to live by herself, about her being dependent on him, she doesn't know what to do, so in tears she shoots it.
Friend zoned and then killed. In Iggy's dying moments, he's just like telling Riel, fuck you, and then don't hate me, okay? The switching between those things is just, it's so real. That's what goes through people when they feel that sort of sense of death in their hearts, that they've lost something that's dear to them, and when they have someone to take it out on, they switch between despair and anger. They just don't know what to do with themselves.
Tsundere.
But I just thought that they captured that absolutely perfectly in Iggy's dying moments, and this is one of the absolutely best episodes in the whole series.
This is one of the episodes where they majorly explore this whole reason for being. It's the main theme throughout the show. It's something that appears in every character, but it's something really strong within this episode. Basically, the most terrible thing that can happen to you. Just realizing that from now on, you're going to be useless. The thing you've been living for doesn't need you anymore. The reaction that Iggy has is extremely natural.
This is what makes it so amazing. This is really what defines its moral goal. The idea that I think, therefore I am, and what makes a person, when is the turning point where you actually have a soul? You start realizing that maybe synthetic life isn't so different than that of human life. There are thousands of different religions, each of them most likely created for understanding that they have a purpose in life. Iggy doesn't have anything to live for other than Riel. Riel is his god. This isn't really a disease. This is people coming to terms with people with souls. Riel realize, I'm not going to make another Riel joke because I have milked the shit out of that, but realizes that they are not perfect, and then you start realizing their actions actually do have consequences. They can't just keep throwing people away like dirt. This is what happens to people when you throw them away. It's just such a great episode, and having gay Roy Mustang die is just heartbreaking.
No, Mustang!
No!
Gay Roy Mustang!
My year!
And now excuse me as I delete 10 minutes of pointless jokes and puns.
Alright, well, might want to get back to that thing before Rory decides to end half of the video, so...
We can continue this later on.
Yeah, sure, after the video. Okay, here we go.
Episode 15.
14.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And now you know what happens when I'm not there.
They enter a dome and are basically being mind-fucked by a proxy who is changing forms.
Oh, God.
And the proxy is trying to be accepted by others by taking their place. The proxy wants love, but he doesn't know how to earn it. One of the cooler things about this episode is Vincent asks Rael, how did you know it was me? The other thing didn't have a reflection. She couldn't tell the difference.
I think it's interesting in this anime how the proxies deal with their loneliness in a different way, the different philosophies that they work with. One of my favorite parts about this anime is the idea that being a god, it kind of fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Like, these gods just hate their job. If I was a proxy and if I was living for like thousands of years with no one to interact with, I might just seek out my own death. I just think that's one of the best themes that they work with, and something that I don't see a lot. Being a god is actually just not a lot of fun.
Usually in a TV series, people like commit suicide if they're lonely. But if a proxy tries to commit suicide, they are now lonely, immortal, and their legs are broken.
Oh god. Oh my god.
Skipping 5 more minutes.
Okay, episode 15. Q. You thought that watching an anime, they're playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
You want color?
And
you got it.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is actually a huge exposition dump, where you like have to go back a few minutes to repeat what they just said, because they're just giving you a lot of information to work with. If you're ever going to do an info dump, do it like this. Take notes, Robuchi. This is the way you do info dumps. You make them interesting. You do just like, oh, I'm going to say everything to you now just because I don't want to do proper exposition. This was just an interactive episode. I found myself answering, like, at which point is water the most condensed? 4 Celsius, 4 Celsius! And they're like, 4 Celsius, fuck yeah, I knew it!
You can info dump in an entertaining way that doesn't just make the viewer drop everything and never come back to the anime. This was actually... Exactly! Oh good god, psychopath.
For any one of you out there who's listening to this video and happens to be an Urobuchi fan, fuck you! The guy's horrible and you're horrible for liking him.
Episode 16. Okay, I have to say this is one of the most brilliant episodes I've ever seen. The idea of an episode is characters being bored shitless. And how do you make an interesting episode about being bored and not making it in Moe Club bullshit? This is the episode where characters connect. We see it through Rael's eyes. She just doesn't know what to do with herself. She is annoyed by Vincent. She is annoyed by everything. She gets to know them because before there was a lot going on and you can't really meet a person in a normal way if there's just crazy things going on, game shows that are trying to kill you, and it was just interesting to see it, how they presented everything.
It might just be the same thing as like a swimsuit episode, but in a swimsuit episode, no one develops, everyone's just kind of grabbing each other's tits, but in this one, it actually matters.
I think it's interesting to see how Riel and Vincent really differ just because of their different upbringings. Riel is really vain and materialistic attitude and just always having to be pretty, just like a girl thing, but I think it's more of a matter of where she came from, where Vincent's just sort of like some bum struggling to get by, and putting her in that situation, it was just fun to see her go off the edge, see their raw character, and get some deep development out of them.
Episode 17, what do you do when you face imminent death and imminent destruction? We see a parallel between Romado, where they choose to fight. They don't know what they're going to fight, but they just feel that they need to do something. They feel that they can't really just sit down and die out. And we are given a parallel about people who decide just to sit down and die out. With mutated humans, they have to breathe the poison that is killing them at the same time, but if they move away from the poison, they die right away.
It sort of feels like a parallel between those dying humans and the proxies, because the proxies, they get to live as long as they want, but they're miserable. And as soon as they exit the safety of whatever city they're in charge of and seek out another proxy so that they can kill themselves off, then they're free from that misery.
Raul is given some pretty darn great exposition. He shifts through different phases. First, he wants to exact his revenge on Vincent. Then he decides to be the perfect citizen, doing everything perfect and being amazing at his job. And then he sees that just living for your job is empty. You get nothing out of it. There's no real satisfaction. Then he decides that he needs to do something possibly violent just to get out of that meaningless life. And here he nukes another dome. Yeah, Raul is just such an amazing character.
You heard it, guys. Pinky Dave fights people who nuke other cities.
Episode 18. Is Vincent really a clone of Proxy 1? Or does he just lose control of himself? Does Ergo Proxy take over? Here we sort of get to see the fruit of episode 16, the way Rael reacts to Vincent. She is no longer acting like a bitch. She's caring for him and she sees him as a friend.
They go to Moscow and they don't really find anything. Kind of just felt like a cop-out. I mean, almost the entire show is their journey to Moscow and there isn't anything. I know people could say, oh no dude, it's all about the journey, man. It's like, yeah, but there has to be some payoff at the end of it.
Maybe that was the point. What if your end game is empty and pointless? What do you do when you reach your goal and there's nothing at your goal?
You go kill Raoul, I don't know. Let's head back to Romdo and meet up with the rest of the gang, so I don't know. It just feels too paraphrased. It feels too simple. I mean, there just doesn't seem to be as much as you could to say about it. It's like, I feel like...
Especially if you compare it to the rest of the episodes. It's not that this is a bad episode, it's just that the competition is crazy.
Okay, seriously, they completely missed the point. This episode wanted to prove that you must go full circle if you want to find a solution to your problem. The journey was there to make you see and understand the problem. You don't just go to a completely unrelated place and find a solution, you return back to the source of the problem after you have understood it. And that's the reason they were going from one dome to another, to see what is wrong with the world. Now, Vincent can excuse his own actions, and this is why they go back to the city. Full circle, guys! Why didn't anyone realize that? It was so simple.
Episode 19, it's a tribute to Walt Disney. Pino gets a vision in which he explores Smileland, explores the concept of a never-ending show where they just have to find new ways to entertain people. It's sort of like MTV. The idea they have is stupid, they dump it away, find something new, because if people started to think about the episode they had before, they just see it for what it is and wouldn't be blissfully happy. So they just keep exchanging entertainment and bring in new cartoon autoraves.
Romdo is all about functionality and being able to sustain their numbers and stuff like that. Smileland is all about just like embracing happiness, keeping everyone entertained, and that's that particular Proxy's philosophy on how that city should be run.
At the end, Pino basically teaches them how to be really happy for the little things and not for the entertainment. Didn't like this episode. As episode 18, there's just too much competition for it to stand out outside of, well, it being drawn like it's a fucking Walt Disney cartoon.
If you're into Pino, if you're into that whole thing, I mean, I love Pino, I love me some Pino, but the fact is like, I like it when the character's humor has relevance. I just felt like there wasn't as much as a purpose at the end of this episode as there is in other ones.
This episode could have benefited by being placed earlier in the show. I mean, right after, like, a freaking dome gets nuked and they find out they need to go back to Romdo, you're like freaking hyped for that shit, and then they just like throw Disneyland into the mix. It's sort of derail everything. I did think that it had some purpose, but it is still one of the weaker episodes of
Episode 20 is one of the most psychedelic ones, even though it has a lot of competition. It's, again, a bit derailing. The concept is, if you are not a real person, if you are just a reflection of her personality created by her mind, and you care for that person, what do you do? Can you make yourself go away? It's basically telling Vincent to commit suicide because you are not a real person. You don't exist. You are just a reflection. You need to go away. The person you care most is being hurt by you. I personally enjoyed this episode a lot.
The problem with having a show with so many metaphors is how to review it. I mean, my perception of it is, what would happen if Vincent didn't exist? How important is he to the world? If, like, someone snuffed him out, would anybody give a shit? I think it's one of those kinds of episodes, but that's the big issue with so many metaphors in one series. That is just a bunch of metaphors, so that was one problem I had with this episode, and I personally just didn't like it very much, but you know what, whatever.
I thought this episode had some interesting ideas, but it felt very disconnected, very tacked on to the rest of the anime. It just sort of felt like they were tackling more concepts, just filling out the anime with as many ideas as they could get before it was done. What they have to say.
That's what they were doing. They had a lot of authors, and they wanted to give each one a chance to make something of his own. That is why we have these little conceptual episodes that aren't as connected. Episode 21, we finally get back on the rail. They come back to Romado, and Romado has turned to shit. People have started killing autoraves because most of them became infected.
There's something that isn't inorganic. Does that have feelings? Can that be considered as having a soul? They convey that, yes, they do have a soul. Yes, they do have emotions. They have feelings, and they have desires. It's heartbreaking to see some guy throwing a MacBook Pro off of a building, and it's just hilarious. person, but I mean, like...
As long as they're Macs, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because only doctors can afford them.
Kill all the Apple products.
And then Linux shall inherit the earth.
Episode 22. Basically here we confirm that Vincent is a clone.
Proxy 1 has actually been following Vincent since the very beginning. Every time Vincent thought he was talking to himself, Proxy 1 has just been playing mind games with Vincent the whole time. It is an interesting concept, but I feel like there's no real reason for Proxy 1 to be doing any of this. I just feel like he's not really...
He wanted him to correct his mistakes, to have a life, but he already wasted his own. So he made himself again.
And then he got angry at him again. He's pointing the finger at other people. I feel like there should have been more of a conflict between these two characters throughout the story, not just like just one more proxy that Vincent needed to snuff out before the end of the story.
I understood it. I guess it was somewhat foreshadowed, but I didn't really feel like he absolutely needed to be there. It just felt like he was there to confront Vincent about his past and just like remind us again that he wanted to be human, that he was trying to escape his godliness because it was a lonely life. And again, I love that concept, but I felt like you didn't really need Proxy 1 to be that catalyst. It's just some final boss. It's not just an alter ego, it's a villain. Let's turn him into a villain. Let's make him the final boss. What the hell? Oh, we need a showdown.
Basically, they externalize a problem at that point. It was always about Vincent's thoughts, and all of a sudden, oh, the problem is not you, it's somebody else. Just beat this guy, and the problem is magically solved. It's not you, it's somebody else. Yes, and that was lazy writing.
We also meet Real, not Rael, but Real. She's a real clone of Monad Proxy. Basically, Daedalus decided that, well, since I can't have the first Real, I'm gonna make myself a new one.
They should put a pair of angel wings on that bitch.
She has angel wings, and she also kills Raul. He basically goes in and wants to kill Daedalus, but he also says, well, I'm going to kill Vincent, and Real shoots him. Daedalus asks her, did you do it for me? You loved me so much you shot a man. And she's like, he said he was going to kill Vincent. And it's just like, everything crumbles for that character. He made a second person that he wanted her to love him, and that second person again went for Vincent and not for him.
He gets crushed, both in love and with a giant piece of debris. Irony.
After Raul is shot, he just wanders around, and this is basically everything that he was trying to find. The meaning of life for him was far from a job or humanity surviving or anything like that. It was having a child, and he loved Pino. He just realizes that everything he has been doing has been meaningless, that he nuked something for nothing, and he was just trying to run away from the pain of having people he cared most just removed out of his life. The best and most realistic developments of just any character. This is just the way real masterpieces handle a theme. You don't just hammer someone with a theme. You have a theme that goes throughout the book, and you touch upon it multiple times, but not by grabbing it with a whole hand. You're just like touching it gently and exploring it in a natural way. This is why I love this show.
The problem with this is I don't remember Raul ever saying Pino's name once throughout the entire story. I don't actually remember him ever talking about Pino. In fact, I completely forgot that they were connected in any way until he finally realized that he wanted Pino at the end. So although I like the character development, but I felt like he should have had more of a connection to Pino. Like, he should have shown his connection to her a little bit more.
They showed it in the first episodes. I mean, he didn't spell it out, wasn't quite clear, but it was strongly indicated that he had a connection with her.
I just feel like it could have been handled a bit better. At the final episode, you realize that the domes and everything that happened was a plan by humanity thousands of years ago. There were two plans, either to leave a bunch of people within these domes and sustain themselves until the world was ready to be inhabited, or get in a bunch of Mass Effect spaceships and go flying up into the universe and come back down when the world wasn't so shitty. And you realize that proxies cannot survive in the sun, so when the world does become renewed, all proxies will be killed. So it's pretty much humanity's last middle finger to proxies, that even with proxies, it's like, yo, dude, you ready to get disintegrated? Oh, that's too bad. You're gonna have to do that anyway. It just shows how much of dicks humanity are to their own creations.
The way I see it, proxies were like nanites. If you know your basic science fiction terms, you know that nanites are created so they can create or terraform something, but they do not know when to stop on their own. Something else needs to stop them. In usual science fiction stories, we have nanite killers, but in this case, it was simply sunlight. So as soon as the Proxies had revitalized the world and the sun would just appear once again in the sky, so humanity from space can return and recolonize the planet, Proxies would simply die out because their usage was over. That's pretty much why they were fated to die out since the very beginning.
There's like one problem I had with the show. It was with Real and Vincent's last discussion as they're flying up into the sky. Why don't you come with me? And Vince is like, no, I have someone I love. And she doesn't really fucking love you or care about you, dude. In fact, I never got that impression. You never feel like Real's worth it. There's no reason for Vincent to really feel this way. Oh, why can't she just be nice to me? It's just like, you never really get a connection between these two characters. I wish that Real would have gotten a bit more screen time to just get her character fleshed out a bit more and a little bit more understanding towards the character.
It seemed to be more of a biological thing, like a fate thing, that they were attracted to each other.
They were clones of lovers. Vincent is a clone of Proxy 1, and Rael is a clone of, a failed clone actually, of the Monad Proxy, and those two were lovers.
Yeah, it was sort of a fate thing. It's what they were created for.
Another issue I have is that Real decides to fly up into the sun. Ooh, Icarus symbolism, and that's what I have to say about the show.
I didn't like the Icarus symbolism. I don't really understand why it was there. I'm gonna say it's a bit pretentious. It isn't perfect, I mean, no show is, but the reason I love the show is they aimed high. They wanted to make something great. And of course, if you set your bar really, really high, you're not going to be able to reach everything. This happened in this show, but I love it because of their sheer ambition. It makes you respect the authors because, well, for the most part, they knew what they were doing, and I don't know, I guess I have to talk with the author and see why exactly he used Icarus symbolism. I don't really see it.
It's going to give the feeling of some pretentiousness when you aim so high. But even if it is pretentious, it's still smart, just maybe not quite as smart as it was hoping to be.
At the end of the story, you get the symbolism of Adam and Eve, but neither of them can reproduce.
Yeah, you guys want to argue about religion more?
Oh, that sounds like a bad idea.
That's always a bad idea unless you all agree. I didn't actually see that many Bible references.
Maybe you're right, I don't think Eve had blue eyeliner either, so.
She looks like she sneezed in a makeup box.
I don't know, she looks like the singer of Evanescence, and I like Evanescence.
Yeah, almost picture perfect. She's like a clone.
She's a clone.
Clone.
Maybe like when they were creating the Proxies, like, hey, let's like base this one off Evanescence. Oh, I love that band. It's just okay.
Well, yeah. Too bad the opening wasn't from Evanescence. That way we have two awesome bands doing the opening and the ending.
Oh man.
Save me from the
Maybe they should have done that, just so they're being honest about it.
They should have named her Evanescence or something.
Here we go again. Skipping to final thoughts.
Ergo Proxy has to be one of the best animes I've ever seen. It's definitely going to be on my top 10. I'd give it maybe an 8 or a 9. The problem is they have a lot of metaphors. It's really hard to judge an anime based off of its metaphorical presence. So what you need to do is base it a lot off of what it has going for it. And it has a lot going for it, but there is some things that should have been changed. But like I said before, nothing's perfect. But as for a story that talks about the sins of someone's past, compared to Shinsekai Yuri, which had a lot of good concepts, but it wasn't exciting, Ergo Proxy both has good concepts and is definitely entertaining. Definitely go watch it.
Is like some crazy dream you never want to wake up from. It's one that like you wake up from, you're like, oh, I wanted to fucking see what was happening next. That was kind of fucking awesome. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, but it was fascinating all the same. Like you're literally being haunted by this anime, and that is just compelling you to keep watching and finding out what the hell is going on. And when you finally get to the end and things really start making sense, you're really, really glad that you finished it. It's one of the best animes I've ever seen. It's really mixes all these themes particularly well. It could have been paced a little bit better, but overall it's just a fantastic anime and just a must watch. I totally recommend it.
This is my all-time favorite anime. It properly uses its most important themes. Every major theme is extremely well explored. The characters feel really human and mature. We don't get angsty teenagers. It does fail a bit in some of its themes, but that's just because it was trying to be amazing on all levels, and of course that is impossible. Amazing, mind-blowing, thought-provoking, subtle, well-presented, everything that I ever wanted from a dark sci-fi anime.
That's enough, just say goodbye now.
That's it for this time, and hope you enjoyed it. See you next time in another video. Okay.
Yeah, we actually did pretty good without Rory. Sorry, Rory.
That wasn't too bad.
Yeah, turned out pretty good. Alright, later, guys. I need to compress this shit.
You sounded like Jack Black.
I need to compress this shit. I don't know, I just freaking love Jack Black. He's like the only person I know that can sing a guitar solo. Let's see.